Welcome. What you are about to hear is not your typical self-help summary. There will be no cheerful affirmations, no morning routine hacks, no 10 steps to a better you. What you are about to hear is something rarer, something honest. This is a complete summary of Mark Manson's best-selling book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Since its release in 2016, it has sold over 15 million copies worldwide and been translated into more than 50 languages. And it became a phenomenon not despite its blunt, unconventional message, but because of it. Because Mark Manson says something that the self-help industry is almost never willing to say. The way we have been taught to pursue happiness is making us more miserable. And if you want to genuinely improve your life, you need to start with honesty, not positivity, with reality, not aspiration. Let us begin. Chapter 1. Don't Try. There was a man named Charles Bukowski. He was a drunk, a failure by almost every conventional measure, who spent decades working dead-end jobs, collecting rejection letters from literary journals, and writing poetry almost nobody read. He did not become a published author until he was 50 years old, and yet today he is considered one of the most important American literary voices of the 20th century. On his gravestone, his epitaph reads 2 words: "Don't try." This is where Manson opens his book, and those 2 words are not a message of defeat. They are a diagnosis of what is wrong with modern culture. We live in an age of relentless positivity. Open any self-help book, any motivational account, any personal development platform. The message is the same. Be better, do more, hustle harder. You can be anything. Never give up. Optimize your mindset. And here is the problem. The constant message that you should be better implies that right now you are not enough. Every piece of motivational content you consume subtly reinforces the belief that something is wrong with you and needs fixing. The more desperately you chase improvement, the more you confirm the underlying feeling of inadequacy. Manson calls this the feedback loop from hell. You feel anxious, then you feel anxious about being anxious, then guilty for that, then more anxious. You feel unhappy, so you chase happiness harder, which just makes you more aware of how unhappy you are. The pursuit of the positive becomes its own source of suffering. The solution Bukowski embodied was not indifference, it was selectivity. He was not someone who cared about nothing. He cared deeply about his writing, but he had stopped pretending, stopped performing, stopped chasing a version of success that was not his.
And this is the central thesis of the entire book. The key to a good life is not giving a fuck about more things. It is giving a fuck about fewer, better, more honestly chosen things. Because your emotional energy is finite, the question is whether you are spending it on things that are actually worth it. Chapter 2. Happiness is a problem. More than 2,000 years ago, a young Indian prince named Siddhartha Gautama sneaked out of his palace, a palace deliberately built to protect him from all pain and suffering, and saw the real world for the first time. He saw sickness, he saw old age, he saw death, and it shattered him. Not because these things were unusual, but because they were universal. He realized that suffering was not a glitch in the system, it was the system. This experience set him on the path to becoming the Buddha, and the first of his teachings, the first noble truth, was this: life is suffering. Modern culture hates this idea. We prefer life is a gift, choose happiness, you've got this. But Manson argues that our refusal to accept suffering as a fundamental part of life is itself the source of enormous unnecessary misery. There is a concept in psychology called the hedonic treadmill, the human tendency to rapidly adapt back to a baseline level of happiness after any positive event. You get the raise, the car, the relationship, you feel wonderful for a while, and then you adapt. The excitement fades, the new becomes normal, and you want more. This is not a failure. This is just how the human brain works. It means that happiness as a permanent state, the end destination where you finally feel okay, is not achievable. Chasing it as if it were is a recipe for perpetual dissatisfaction. So Manson proposes a different question entirely. Instead of asking, "How can I be happy?" ask this: "What pain am I willing to endure?" Because everybody wants the result. Everybody wants the fit body, the fulfilling career, the deep relationship, but not everybody is willing to pay the price. The grinding gym sessions, the years of rejection, the vulnerability of genuine intimacy. Your willingness or unwillingness to endure a specific struggle reveals your real values more honestly than any vision board ever could. When you align your struggles with something you genuinely care about, the pain stops feeling like punishment, it starts feeling like purpose. A marathon runner's burning legs are suffering, but they are chosen suffering, meaningful suffering, and that changes everything. Chapter 3. You are not special. Here is the part that might sting a little. Beginning in the 1960s and accelerating through the following decades, Western culture, particularly in America, began telling children something new. You are special. You are extraordinary. You can be anything. Everyone gets a trophy. These messages came from a good place, but the unintended consequence was a generation deeply convinced of their own exceptionalism and deeply unprepared for a world that had no obligation to agree. Manson observes that most people's emotional problems cluster into two types that look opposite but are actually the same. The first is feeling worse than average, feeling like a failure who can never measure up. The second, equally destructive, is feeling better than average, believing you are uniquely brilliant, uniquely victimized, uniquely destined for greatness, and therefore exempt from the ordinary rules of effort and failure.
Chapter 5. You are always choosing. Responsibility versus fault. Here is perhaps the most important idea in the entire book and the easiest to misunderstand. You are always responsible for your own experience. Always. This does not mean that bad things are your fault. Life is genuinely unfair. Terrible things happen to good people. Structural injustice is real. Random chance is real. Manson is not disputing any of this. What he is drawing is a crucial distinction between fault and responsibility. Fault is about what caused something. Responsibility is about what you choose to do about it. He uses a stark example. Suppose someone punches you in the face for no reason. That is absolutely not your fault. The other person is entirely to blame. And yet, everything that happens next is entirely your responsibility. Whether you press charges, whether you let this make you afraid, whether you allow this to define how you see people, whether you carry this as a permanent identity, all of that is yours. The punch was not your fault. Your response is your responsibility. The victim position is emotionally comfortable. When you are a victim, nothing is your fault. Nothing requires you to change, and the responsibility for fixing everything falls on someone else, the person who hurt you, society, circumstances. But the victim position is also a trap, because the external cause of your pain may never change. The person who wronged you may never apologize. The circumstances may never improve. And if your well-being is contingent on those changes, you may wait forever. Taking responsibility, even for things that are genuinely not your fault, is the only stance that gives you actual power. Not because you deserve the burden, because you are the only one with the capacity to actually change your experience. Manson tells the story of William James, the great American psychologist, who in his 20s suffered from devastating depression so severe he could barely function. He made a philosophical decision. He would act as though his choices mattered, as though he had genuine agency, even though he had philosophical doubts about whether free will was real. That single act of choosing responsibility transformed his life. He went on to become one of the most important thinkers in American intellectual history.
Stop asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, what am I going to do about this? The first question circles back on itself, feeding resentment and helplessness. The second question opens outward, towards action, towards agency, towards the possibility that the next chapter has not yet been written. Chapter 6. You're wrong about everything. Embracing uncertainty. Our brains did not evolve to accurately perceive reality. They evolved to help us survive. These are different goals, and the gap between them means we are all, at any given moment, more wrong about more things than we realize. Manson explains that our self-knowledge operates in layers. The first layer is raw emotional experience, fast, automatic, and heavily shaped by past experience and current state rather than the actual situation in front of us. The second layer is the story our conscious mind builds to explain the emotion. We feel anxious at a party and our mind produces a narrative, "These people don't like me." We feel hurt by a colleague and construct, "They are deliberately undermining me." These stories feel like facts. They feel like accurate descriptions of reality, but they are interpretations, mental models built on imperfect emotional data, filtered through all our existing biases. When someone challenges our story, when evidence suggests our interpretation might be wrong, we experience it as a personal attack. We fight to protect the narrative. Social psychologists call this the backfire effect. When confronted with direct evidence,
Both are forms of exceptionalism. Both are lies. The mathematical reality is simple. By definition, most of us are average in most things. And this is not depressing, it is liberating. Because the moment you stop needing your life to be exceptional, you can actually start living it. You can find meaning in ordinary moments, a real conversation with someone you love, the quiet satisfaction of work done well, the specific comfort of your own daily rhythms. Social media has made this harder. Platforms built around highlight reels make everyone's inner ordinary life feel like a failure compared to everyone else's outer performance. But the highlight reel is a fiction, as much for the person posting it as for the person watching it. The antidote is not to build a better highlight reel. It is to stop needing one. Ordinary life, fully inhabited, is richer than extraordinary life merely performed. Chapter 4. The Value of Suffering. Choosing Your Values. The quality of your life is not determined by the absence of problems. It is determined by the quality of the problems you have. This is a crucial reframe. Problems are a constant, unavoidable feature of human life. Solving one set leads to a new set. The question is never how to eliminate problems. It is what problems you are choosing, and that is entirely determined by your values. Manson identifies several values he calls bad values. Pleasure. When immediate gratification becomes your organizing principle, you get addiction and chronic emptiness. Material success. Beyond a basic level of comfort, additional wealth contributes very little to genuine well-being, yet we organize entire lives around it. Always being right. When your self-image depends on never being wrong, you cannot learn, grow, or have honest relationships. Staying comfortable. A life organized around avoiding discomfort gradually shrinks to almost nothing. These are bad values not because they are evil, but because they are outside your control. They depend on circumstances, on other people, on luck. They make your emotional well-being a hostage to things you cannot reliably guarantee. Good values share three qualities. They are grounded in reality, they benefit not just you but the people around you, and crucially, they are entirely within your own control, independent of luck, circumstance, or what others do. Examples: honesty, because you choose whether to be honest in every interaction. Vulnerability, because openness and authenticity are always available to you. Genuine contribution, because you can choose to give your energy to something meaningful regardless of outcome. Creativity, because the act of making something is entirely yours, even if no one ever notices it.
When your values are good, your struggles are worth having. When they are bad, your suffering is just grinding you down without growing you. Manson also introduces what he borrows from philosopher Alan Watts, the backwards law. The more desperately you want something, the more your desire broadcasts your lack of it. The person who desperately needs to feel confident communicates insecurity. The person frantically chasing happiness is constantly reminding themselves of their unhappiness. The acceptance of the negative is often what allows the positive to emerge, not as something forced, but as something that became possible when you stopped fighting reality.
Contradictions to a deeply held belief? Many people double down rather than update. It explains political polarization, ideological entrenchment, and why some relationships repeat the same arguments for decades. Manson's response is what he calls cultivating uncertainty, not the performance of humility, while secretly being certain you are right, but a genuine, practiced willingness to be wrong. 3 questions help. What if I am wrong about this? What would it mean if I were wrong? And would being wrong make things better or worse? Human beings are deeply uncomfortable with not knowing. We reach for certainty even when it is not available, even when it is false, just to escape the discomfort of ambiguity. The alternative, making peace with not knowing, staying genuinely curious, holding beliefs lightly, is difficult. But it is the only path to beliefs that are actually accurate and actually useful. Chapter 7. Failure is the way forward. Dave Mustaine was kicked out of Metallica in 1983, just before the band broke through. He went home devastated, channeled that pain into forming Megadeth, and built one of the most successful heavy metal bands in history. 38 million albums sold worldwide. And yet, when Manson interviewed Mustaine years later, Mustaine said he felt like a failure because Metallica had sold more. Because by the specific metric he had chosen, beating the band that rejected him, he had not won. Now consider Pete Best. Pete Best was the original drummer of the Beatles, replaced by Ringo Starr in 1962, just weeks before the band signed the deal that made them the most famous musical act in human history. If anyone had reason to be consumed by bitterness and regret, it was Pete Best. And yet he speaks about his life with genuine contentment. He built a real life. He seems, by all accounts, genuinely okay. 2 men, both rejected, one objectively more successful and miserable, one less successful by that measure and at peace. The difference is in the metric, in what they chose to measure themselves by. Failure is not the enemy of a good life. It is the medium through which almost all meaningful growth occurs. Every skill you have, every genuine achievement, every deepened relationship was preceded by failure, probably a lot of it. The question is not how to avoid failure, it is what you do with it. Manson introduces what he calls the failure-success paradox. To succeed at anything meaningful, you must first be willing to fail. And to genuinely be willing to fail, you must stop treating failure as a permanent verdict on your worth as a person. When failure becomes information rather than judgment, it becomes fuel. He also addresses action paralysis, the inability to begin something because the fear of failing is so overwhelming that it feels safer to never try. People in this state plan endlessly, research indefinitely, wait for conditions to be perfect. Conditions will never be perfect. Manson's simple principle: do something, anything specific and real. Action generates information. Motion creates clarity. The right path almost never becomes visible from a standstill. You cannot think your way into knowing what you want. You have to act your way into it.
Chapter 8. The importance of saying no. We live in a culture that celebrates openness and availability. Saying yes to everything seems generous and warm. Saying no feels selfish, unkind, like a small failure. But Manson argues that boundaryless openness is not generosity. It is avoidance.
It is the refusal to make real choices, to commit to real priorities, to accept the trade-offs that come with caring deeply about specific things. Real depth in relationships, in work, in creative endeavors requires commitment. And commitment requires rejection. To say yes to something fully is to say no to everything that conflicts with it. The person who says yes to every social invitation finds that no relationship goes very deep, because depth requires time, and time is finite. The person who says yes to every professional opportunity finds that no work reaches its full potential, because excellence requires focus. In romantic relationships especially, the desperate desire to never disappoint, to always accommodate, never conflict, keep the peace at all costs, feels like love. Manson argues it is not love. It is insecurity performing as love. Real intimacy requires honesty, and honesty requires the willingness to sometimes disappoint someone when your truth conflicts with their expectations. Couples who never fight are not necessarily in healthy relationships. Often they are in relationships where at least one partner has decided that genuine transparency is too dangerous, that the appearance of harmony is worth the cost of genuine closeness. But two people managing each other carefully are not actually intimate. They are coexisting. Your no is not a closing, it is a focusing. Every no to something that does not align with your values is a vote for the things you have said yes to. And the people, the work, the causes that receive your genuine yes deserve someone who chose them, not someone who simply failed to say no.
Chapter 9. And then you die. This is the chapter most self-help books are too careful to write. This is where Manson goes somewhere genuinely important. He talks about death. In 1973, the philosopher Ernest Becker published The Denial of Death, which won the Pulitzer Prize. His central argument: virtually all of human civilization, art, religion, politics, commerce, cultural ritual can be understood as an elaborate collective defense mechanism against the awareness that we are going to die. We are the only animals who know with certainty that our lives are finite. And this knowledge is so overwhelming that we spend our entire existence finding ways to not quite look at it directly. We construct what Becker called immortality projects, the things we invest in because we believe they will outlast us: children, creative work, religious belief, legacy, reputation. These are not inherently bad. They give life meaning, but they become destructive when we cling to them so desperately that any challenge to them feels like an existential threat. Manson found this framework clarifying rather than depressing, because the real gift of confronting death honestly is this: it answers the question we are all secretly asking all the time: what actually matters? He tells the story of losing a close friend suddenly and unexpectedly, young, healthy, full of life, gone. And in the grief that followed, Manson found himself face to face with mortality, not as an abstract concept, but as a real, personal, imminent truth. And what he found was not depression, it was clarity. The things that had filled his days with anxiety suddenly seemed very small. What remained was real: the relationships, the values, the quality of daily experience. The ancient Stoics had a practice they called memento mori, remember that you will die. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome and one of the most powerful human beings in history, wrote about his own death constantly in his private journals, not out of morbidity, out of clarity. The regular contemplation of his mortality kept him grounded and genuinely purposeful. It reminded him that his power had an expiration date and needed to be used well. Awareness of death does not diminish life, it focuses it. It strips away the things that do not matter and reveals, with precision, the things that do. Conclusion. Let me bring everything together. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck is not a book about indifference. The most important thing to understand is that it is not asking you to care about nothing. It is asking you to be intentional about what you care about. To recognize that your emotional energy, your capacity to care, to be moved, to invest is finite. And that finite resource deserves to be spent on things that are genuinely worth it. The book teaches us that happiness is not a destination, but a byproduct of meaningful struggle. That the question is not how to be happy, but what pain you are willing to choose. It teaches us that accepting we are not special, that our lives are ordinary by most measures, is not a defeat. It is the foundation of a genuinely inhabited life. It teaches us to take full responsibility for our experience, not because everything is our fault, but because responsibility is the only position from which anything can actually change. It teaches us to hold our beliefs lightly, to welcome uncertainty, to stay curious rather than certain. It teaches us that failure is not the enemy of success, it is the path. That action creates clarity, that doing something imperfectly is worth infinitely more than intending to do something perfectly. It teaches us the power and necessity of saying no. The depth in any domain of life requires the willingness to close other doors. And it brings us face to face with the fact that we are going to die, and that this limitation is not a curse. It is the thing that gives our choices meaning. Charles Bukowski's gravestone says, "Don't try." What he meant, I think, was this: stop performing, stop chasing, stop spending yourself on things that were never really yours to pursue. Find what is genuinely, honestly yours, what you actually care about, what pain you are truly willing to endure, what values you would actually live by, and give that everything you have. That is the subtle art, and it is worth practicing every single day.
Thank you for spending this time with me and with this remarkable book. If even one idea here shifts something for you, if it gives you a slightly more honest, slightly more grounded angle on how you are spending the one life you have, then this was worth every word. Mark Manson's full book has a texture and specificity that no summary can fully capture. His voice is sharp, funny, and surprisingly warm. If this resonated with you, I strongly encourage you to read the original. And as you go about your day, carry just one question with you. Not, what do I want to achieve? Not, how can I be more successful? Just this, what is actually worth my care? Decide, choose consciously, spend yourself on that, and release the rest. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.